It's so good to be here today, Jimmy, talking to you, one of the co-founders of Church Protect. Would you give us a little bit of background as to how Church Protect came about?
Well, yeah, Church Protect was really birthed out of despair and anguish and a lack of resources. In 2011, I had abuse disclosed to me. As a minister, you're in a very difficult position. You're a mandated reporter. You're trying to consult with people. You're trying to help them understand how God fits into that picture. But on the other hand, you have a criminal activity. And so, a lot of churches really have no clue how to handle that. And, to further complicate it, it ended up being my own father who was the abuser. And so I started researching and trying to find any kind of resources that were available for church leaders and couldn't find a thing. And about a year after reporting Dad, he was imprisoned, I started doing workshops on abuse because I wanted people to know what I knew and try to pass that information on to help other church leaders out. And so a friend of mine, who's another minister in town, came to one of my workshops, and he tells one of his church members who's a therapist who works with sex offenders. He said, "You have to meet this guy, Jimmy Hinton, and you've got to hear what he has to say." And so John Euler, who's now my co-founder with Church Protect, he said, "Well," he said to himself, I don't really know what I'm going to hear that I don't already know." And so he kind of enticed his friend and set up a meeting to meet up with me. And so I shared a little bit of my story, and he was just absolutely taken aback and couldn't believe the scenario and how it unfolded and how I handled it and how as a family we were handling it. And so really it was his idea. He said, "We've got to start something, a partnership where we help churches." He said, "Both of us have expertise." He said, "Yours unfortunately is from experience." He said, "Mine is from working in the prison system." And he said, "It would be really drastic if we didn't come together and do something with our combined expertise and help people."
What exactly is so important, Jimmy, with the involvement of churches in this Church Protect? What's the play that out there? Why is that so important?
Well, it's interesting. We're actually starting to do a study that's never been done before. And in the prison that he works at, there's a coworker who he's starting to notice a trend. The more heinous the crimes, sex crimes against children, the more heinous the crimes, the more sadistic the offenders are, the more victims they have, the more religious they are. One of the issues I'm running into, out of the churches that I consult with, near 80% of them, the alleged offenders are in church leadership positions.
Near how many percent?
About 80%.
About 80% of
Yeah,
offenders?
they're in leadership positions, which means minister, elder, deacon, church board. They're in leadership positions in the congregation, which correlates with the study that we're starting to do in the prison. One of the other patterns that I'm starting to see is, lo and behold, guess who's not contacting me for consultations?
Church leaders?
Exactly right.
Okay, guess on my part. Okay.
So the trend that we're starting to see is it's members within the congregation
Okay.
who are aware of our services, and they're coming
Okay.
to us saying, "Look, we've talked to our church leaders and they don't want anything to do with it." I can't say anything to them, but there's usually a reason behind that. And one of two things: either church leaders are offenders themselves, or the church leaders have such a bad theology that they don't want to believe that it could ever happen in their churches. But I assure people it happens all the time.
Tell everybody again how they can get in touch with you and how they can get more information
Yeah.
about if there is a suspicion that something is going on criminal activity, child molestation within their church, how would they get in touch with Church Protect?
Yeah, easiest way is through our website, churchprotect.org. One thing I would say is if you suspect abuse, don't hesitate to contact us. A lot of people they don't want to believe that the person is capable of it. The thing that I have heard so far, it's been 100% of the time. The thing that I've heard is when people tell me that it was a suspected abuser, they say, but we're just having a really hard time believing that he's capable of that. And I hear it all. I mean, I experienced it with my own father. These are not weird, creepy guys in the congregation. These are productive church leaders, socially, you hear things all the time. They're socially awkward and they migrate.
Right.
They don't have adult relationships. That's not true. That's not true. The vast majority of them have very normal social lives, very normal relationships with other adults. And they're just nice people.
That we would never suspect.
And our best friends.
Okay.
And our fathers and our brothers and our uncles.
Jimmy, I want to thank you personally for you and your co-founder, beginning Church Protect, and I look forward to getting more of this information out to everyone so that we can protect our children. Thank you
Very good.
so much.
Thank you.